Hi, everybody.
Hi. Happy Friday.
So what microphone? This one?
Don't worry about the microphone. We're good. We're in good shape. I got to figure that one out.
I want to make sure everybody can hear us.
They can hear us.
Testing.
Usually, we're not the challenge dancer.
Yes.
It's usually our guests who become our challenge. Like a very soft-spoken Pam Silvestri.
I love Pam. She
Pam.
is very soft-spoken.
She is.
But that's a personality.
And you guys always call us out if you can't hear Pam. Well, welcome to Live from Rabs from inside Rabs Country Lanes.
The darkened Rabs Country Lanes.
Non-open.
Yes.
Hey, Naz.
Hey, Frank.
Episode
101.
If you watched us yesterday, we celebrated our 100th
century
episode.
1 century.
1 century. And we did it in just a few months. Just 2 hacks.
It feels like
from inside a bowling alley, live on Facebook, every day for a while. Now we come live to you 5 days a week.
Well, each phase. We do we switch it up every phase.
Yeah.
First we took Sundays off, then we took the weekends
Saturday
off.
and Sunday off.
Yes.
It started
and phase 3.
You
with the hooky call.
With hooky. So we're excited. We got a great show today. And thank you all for tuning in.
You know what's really funny?
What's really funny?
We have a decent sized crowd today because you know why?
Why?
Because it's crappy out.
It's disgusting out. And yes, we are here early today. Today we come to you at 1 o'clock, where we've been coming at you at 2 o'clock for the last 100 episodes, except for a couple times in between.
Right.
We've done one late night show when we had our friend Jason Belmonte on.
Yes.
From across the other side of the world. Today, our guest is from across the pond.
We're international. We are definitely international.
We're definitely international. And today, the weather is so bad out. We don't have indoor dining here yet in New York. And I feel really bad for our friends in the restaurant business today. We've been relying on the outdoor restaurant business and it's been nice weather for the most part.
Right. Not today so much.
This is, what's this tropical storm that's made its way? Hannah? It's an H.
I think it's an H. I didn't think it was Hannah.
It's not Hannah.
Somebody tell us what the tropical storm
I kind of just made that up because it was an H, and so I thought it sounded good for the brief moment. If you watched us yesterday, we apologize for the little...
Yeah, we had some technical
difficulties where, in the beginning of the show, we had this list of things... we now know, what do we call it? Things Faye, thank you, Lori. Faye, that bitch Faye is making her way up the coast.
But you know what? We do need the rain. I don't want to.
We do need the rain, yes.
But we need the rain very badly in this area. So we will be getting a share of it.
Our garden needed it, for sure.
Mine certainly did.
That I will say we've gotten some good rain, but this is definitely neat. This is
needed.
Just not like this. This is like
no. And we'd prefer to be open when the weather.
Yes, we prefer to be open. So anyway, enough about Faye, the bitch that's making her way up the coast. That's now here. She's pretty ugly. If you've looked at that
they
storm.
said this is going to be like, possibly for some parts of the United States, some record-setting rainfall.
Yeah, last night about 6 o'clock, we got a notification that tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. this alert is in place. So this is an all-day affair. An all-day affair. And that's another day. If you watched yesterday, we also were sharing some greetings from our friends, and we just have so many of them that we're going to share with them. We're going to share you these special greetings, but look out for a video later today that has all of these nice greetings.
We're going to share a couple more today.
I am going to share.
Because I missed yesterday.
Yesterday because we couldn't hear them.
We couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
We were.
So check out a couple. Here's a greeting from our friends in Double Oak, Texas, Linda and Chris Barnes.
Gang at Rabs, congratulations on your 100th episode. From the Barges, thanks for letting us be a little part of that ride, and here's to 100 more, hopefully not in quarantine.
Frankie Naz, we love you guys. Happy 100th. Thanks for keeping bowling alive and in front of everybody. Be safe.
She was in the background. She was taking the video.
Oh, okay.
And so Sarah,
love that.
Sarah has joined the Frankie Club and ranting along with our friend Jimmy Otto, who rants. Sarah, I miss you. I said this on the post. Sarah is on a mission to get Rabs Country Lanes and bowling centers in New York open because she's sick and tired of looking at her kids, I think is what this comes down
And, you
to.
know, I love my kids, and I could imagine if my kids were young and at home, I would be in the same position.
Yeah. So you've already started. So now this is not how this was supposed to work.
I'm sorry. I had to take a bite.
So if you watched this the other day, we had our friend Mark and Tasha from Mark's Bake Shop on with us, and we talked about all the beautiful things that he bakes that taste amazing. And he's been talking about the donuts being a top seller lately, and they've been creative with changing up the donuts. Holy rain, here it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Sounds like it's going to come through. So we picked up a box of donuts. I have to show these off.
Delicious.
I know they don't look as pretty now because I had cut. Oh, I didn't take a picture. Because I had cut them up for Naz and I, but
Got it.
see, we have some jelly donuts, strawberry donut, jelly ring, peanut butter cup, Boston cream, Nutella s'mores, powdered jelly, glazed donut, and the first one that we're going to try today is this maple. Well, you already ate it, so now that
I took one little bite.
So
It's delicious.
is it? It's delicious.
It really is delicious.
How delicious, Naz? Like tell me. I want the deets on what
It's high level. It's got a nice balance of sweet. A nice balance of sweet to salty, and it's not a heavy donut. It's perfect. They are from Mark's Bake Shop.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Isn't it? I told you. It's perfectly balanced,
It
right?
really is.
Not too sweet, not too
Bacon, maple, sugar. That's really good. Well, sometimes they're too salty or too.
right. Too much in one direction or the other.
We're going to eat more donuts today, and this is going to be like the most calories I've had
Oh my god!
in one sitting in 3 months. Just saying. Verity will send you over the Boston cream donut. We have plenty of those. Hey, without getting too carried away, we do have a special guest with us today. PWBA star, world champion, coming to us. I believe she's home. The one and only Verity Crawley. Hi, Verity.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. How are you today?
I am good. I'm wishing I had the donut though to currently eat whilst watching you guys, but I'm good. I'm actually not in England. I am currently in Florida at the moment. So I'm kind of lucky to be in a state where bowling is already kind of back to normal. So for me, it's very strange to hear that, you know, you're still closed and that New York is still on shutdown. The UK is in a very similar way. So I'm lucky to be where I am.
Florida may be headed in that direction.
I'm hoping that's not going to happen. I know Texas was the same way, where it opened and then, you know, that it spiked and they started to close again. So my fingers are crossed that doesn't happen with Florida. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but at the same time, you never know.
Yeah.
So how long have you been? Did I miss that? How long have you been here?
In Florida?
Yeah.
Well, I normally live in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia, because I've been coaching there. Once they canceled the PWBA tour, once quarantine happened, let's say, I moved down to Florida just to spend some time there with my boyfriend, and we quarantined together for the 3 months that we were stuck at home. And right now, I'm not going back to work just yet, so I am still in Florida. But I haven't been back to England since Christmas. I normally only actually go back about once a year to visit my family.
Sure.
So what kind of coaching are you doing in Savannah?
I am the assistant coach of Savannah College of Art and Design. So collegiate coaching, I tend to coach the women at tournaments. We have a head coach and an assistant coach, so it's just the two of us. When we travel to tournaments, I tend to coach the women, and Katie Thornton is the head coach, and she tends to coach the men. But at practices, you know, we're mixed, we're with everybody. But the collegiate season was brought to a very abrupt end. We were on our way to sectionals, and it was right around the time when COVID happened, and unfortunately we didn't get to bowl sectionals, and then since then everything has just gone downhill.
How long have they had a team at that school?
They've had a team for 4 years, and this was my 3rd season with them. And they've been extremely successful in a very short period of time. Last year, both the men and the women won NAIA National Championship.
Wow.
That was huge, considering the program was literally 3 years old at the time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, you must be quite a recruitment tool for them.
It definitely does help at times, but in the end, it's all about, you know, whether the person likes the university, whether they have the degree that they're looking to study, and then obviously whether they like the culture of the bowling program. We always like to bring recruits to Savannah so that way they can kind of get a feel for the university and also have an option to bowl with the team.
Savannah's a beautiful city, so
it's so nice, and the college is actually spread throughout downtown Savannah. So you're walking around and you see SCAD, and so there's some buildings that I have no idea, but it turns out that it's a SCAD building. So it's very cool. There's a lot of history downtown, and I like it because it kind of has that little European feel to it. So it makes me feel a little closer to home.
Right.
Wait, is it that, or is it food, and food?
Yeah, or both.
Or both.
Or both.
So I can imagine you guys must have the best uniforms. I would imagine.
They are pretty good. Yeah, we have certain guidelines that SCAD has to approve for our uniforms, but the mascot is a bee, so we always have the bee on our jerseys, and the colors are golden black. So.
All right.
And her and Katie make a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I love Katie. She's awesome too.
Yeah.
So, so college bowling for a moment, with a lot of announcements in the last couple of days where some universities have halted full sports. So we don't know whether or not there'll be a true season this fall, and it kind of, I would imagine, up in the air. What are you thinking? What's happening there in your at the university? What are they talking about?
I wish I knew. Honestly, everything is so up in the air. There is, I probably know about as much as you know at this point. It's, you know, there's no answer as to what's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of it depends on what happens with the world. I like to think that the bowling community is small enough to where everyone would come together and we would at least be able to have some form of a season for the first half of the year. Whether that means the tournaments are smaller, whether there's more restrictions put in place for spectators, I'm not sure. But I think about it, I've obviously been bowling a lot in Florida since things reopened, and the tournaments are, you know, they're not as socially distanced as I would imagine. But it makes me feel like if those tournaments can take place, then there shouldn't be any reason why the collegiate scene couldn't take place. But again, it's all health and safety. Obviously, USBC, NCAA, NAIA are going to come into play, and we will have to follow whatever rules they decide. So fingers crossed that there will be some events. But in the end, I think it's more important that we're safe. And I wouldn't really want to risk taking my athletes somewhere that it wouldn't be safe.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, because I think that's the big question. And then, so I'm sorry, Naz. I was going to ask: has the university moved forward with what they want, with plans for learning in the upcoming semester?
That's currently still in the works.
Yeah.
Originally, the plan was for the students to come back in September as normal. That could still change at this point. I'm not entirely sure if all of the classes will be taught in classroom, whether there will be more online options offered. That's still kind of to be discussed, really. And I know a lot of other universities are in the same boat. I know a lot of universities are going to be all online for the first semester, which makes it very difficult for international students. As an international student, you can't.
I was going to ask, had international students on your team?
So we do have international students on our team. We actually have quite a few. We have a girl from Australia, we have Mexico, Colombia, and for us, you know, those students have to have classes offered online in order to actually be able to be in the US. And I really think, knowing SCAD, that they will make that happen. SCAD has a lot of international students. And because of that, I think that they will definitely make sure that those students will still be able to earn their degree and they will still be able to be in the country. Obviously, if they're out of the country right now, it may be a little bit more difficult for them to come back in. That's obviously all going to be based on the government and how everything is going to work for them to get back into the country. But I believe as a university, SCAD will try their best to have classes offered in person so that those international students can still come.
Yeah. All right. So move forward. PWBA, a few seasons in, and man, you get this notification that, oh my God, I worked so hard, and you've had some great success in the tour, and you're working your way through, but now there's no tour. What did that feel like for you?
It was tough, honestly. I went into this year's tour, or once everything got postponed, I was very hopeful that we were still going to have a tour. I was pretty set on the fact that, okay, maybe the tour will be, half the amount of events, and maybe they will start in September or October. I was very hopeful that that was going to happen. So when the decision was made to completely cancel the tour, obviously it's a little heartbreaking, don't get me wrong, when you work so hard for something. And obviously after the end of last year's tour, you set your goals on this year's tour, and everything that I was doing was built up around preparing for the 2020 season. And that's what makes it so difficult, is I want to compete. I want to compete against the best in the world. And I think every other girl is in that same situation. We want to be out there and we want to be competing, but we know that USBC made the best decision that they could. And we know that they would have done everything that they could to try and have a tour this year. I'm hopeful that maybe they'll be able to put on at least one event or something for us, whether it's a World Series form of an event where we can be in one location for a period of time. I like to think that they will be working on that, but again, there's just so much unknown. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in 2 weeks. So it's very hard to plan for an event when the country could go on a whole nother shutdown.
Look, we get a little glimpse of bowling around here when we're working on the machines. And about 5 minutes ago, Jimmy was in 42, I think, and now I think he's messing with us today.
Yeah,
actually,
that's what it feels like.
But it is nice to hear that sound just a little bit. So, and all the ladies that kind of have taken us through the same thing, and it's tough because this is your livelihood. Yes, right. You are coaching, and that is a job, but at the same time, you go out on tour. You've worked so hard to go there, and then, hey, I want to compete. So, but for the right decision, for the right reasons, that we're not bowling. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful there'll be some event or something.
Me too. For me, it was kind of a little bit of a blessing in disguise that the tour was postponed, only because I was injured at the beginning of the year, and come April, I don't know if I actually would have been ready for that first event. So I think I probably would have ended up missing it just because I wasn't back to, full throttle. I wasn't healthy. And when it was postponed, I was almost grateful that it was postponed so that I felt like I could really get ready. And during quarantine, I'm preparing the fact that there is going to be a tour on the other side of this, and it just worked out to where there wasn't. But right now I'm just trying to bowl everything I can so that I'm ready for whatever is going to be next.
So how did you get your start in bowling?
It was through family. So my mum had always bowled ever since she was younger. She's not any good, but she used to bowl with her mum, and they bowled in league, and when I was growing up, she used to go and bowl league, and I'm so young at the time. I'm 3-4 years old, wondering why my mum's going out on a Monday night. And at some point, my brother went for a birthday party at the bowling center, And I was only 5 at the time. And I guess, I don't know if we went to watch him or how exactly that worked. But at the time that he was at the bowling center, the youth bowling club was going on. It was a Saturday morning. And we looked into it. And both my brother and I actually ended up joining that youth bowling club. And it kind of just progressed from there. I bowled every Saturday morning. It was a little 3-game league. And they had different divisions based on what your average was. And my brother was always in the higher division than me. He's 5 years older. So obviously he was naturally going to be better than a little 5-year-old trying to bowl. And I kept working. I always wanted to beat him. I wanted to be in the same division as him. Luckily, that youth bowling club was very popular, and we traveled to a lot of tournaments with that youth bowling club. So I went all over the UK kind of with that club, and it just kind of progressed from there. We would have national events, and I was very successful when I was very young. There was one national event that myself and another young bowler, we used to compete in doubles, and every year we won the doubles. We broke every record, and I then just started to bowl all over the UK. They had a junior bowlers tour, so my parents would take me. Every weekend I was somewhere. You know, it got to the point as a young girl that my friends wouldn't even ask me if I was free at the weekend to hang out, because it was like, well, Verity's going to be bowling. And it was just my thing. You know, my social life was through bowling. Yes, I had friends at school, but my friends were from bowling. You know, I would travel 2 hours to a tournament, and that was just how my weekends went. So it just kind of progressed from there. I was lucky enough to be invited to a Team England training squad, and it was a 4-year program with Team England coaches, and you used to go every month to this specific bowling center, and you had classroom and you had online activities. There was a test every year, and if you passed it, you got to move on to the next level. So I think that's kind of how I really developed. I had the opportunity to first bowl for Junior Team England when I was 12. And that was because of that training squad that I was at. They invited me to go, and I bowled in Vienna for the first time for my country. And it was amazing. And I just kind of kept bowling from there, and more opportunities kept opening up for me.
So at the age of 12, which is not something that happens very often. I imagine you were probably the youngest, at least for Team England.
Yeah, I think for that trip I was. I'm not entirely sure. There might have been another person either the same age as me or 1 year younger. One of the guys I think was younger than me. But yeah, they had it was a United World Games, which doesn't even exist anymore, but they ran it for a few years, and they had 2 different divisions. So there was like an under 14 division and under 18 division, I think.
That's cool. So all right. So now take us through that, because having the opportunity to represent your country. I mean, that's a goal to make Team England. And we've had many athletes on the show that talk about whether it's Team, and for most of them, it's been Team USA. Well, Tanya was on with us as well, and a lot of them have the same theme. But take us through that, because you achieve a goal, like you reach for that, and so at age 12, you attain that. But I don't believe it. I don't want to take words out of your mouth or say. I don't believe it's the same goal as a 12-year-old as it would be for an adult to compete for your country, right? So
I mean, as a 12-year-old, you know, I didn't really know what bowling for my country was going to be like. It was just maybe I'll get invited to go to this little event, and okay, it's out of the country, and I did win a medal. But I think from there on out, because I bowled that one time, it really gave me that drive to continue bowling for Team England. And there was no guarantee that I was going to be on the team any of the other years. You know, it was all based on trials for other events. That event was kind of a special selection pick, whereas normally to make Team England, we used to have to bowl 16 games of tryouts, and then they would take the top 6 or 7 people, and we would bowl what's called a triple crown. And that's where Scotland, Ireland, England, and Wales would compete against one another. So it's one of I guess it's a local event. And that was kind of always the goal as I was growing up within Team England was, okay, well, I want to make it to the Triple Crown. And from there, you have the option, or not really the option, but the possibility to be able to bowl, say, a European Youth Championships or any of the European or world events. And for me, growing up, it was really hard for me to make Team England. I had a lot of very good bowlers around me, and a lot of them were a little bit older than me. They had more experience. I was the young girl that hooked the bowling ball, and I didn't know what to do with the bowling ball. It just hooked too much for me. I couldn't control it. I was very slow. And every year I always found myself not getting picked for these events. They would make a training squad, and we would go and we would all train together, and there would be a group of, 10 people, let's say. And then from there, they would pick the 4, 5, or 6 players that would go to the event. And I was never picked, and I think that helped me more than anything, because it really made me put in so much more work, because I wanted to be better than everyone else around me. And I wanted to give the coaches, I didn't want them to have a reason not to pick me. So that was something that I just continued to work so that it had to, they had to pick me at some point, because I was going to be better than everyone. So I think that's kind of where I got my work ethic from, was that I was fed up of not being chosen. I was fed up of making this selection squad, but never actually getting to go to the event. So that kind of motivated me. And I went to some of the local Triple Crowns, but I didn't actually bowl a European Youth Championships until I was 17. And that was my last opportunity to bowl one. And, it hurt that I didn't get to go any of the previous years, especially because I felt like I definitely had the potential. But, I went when I was 17, and I medaled in 3 events, and I felt like I showed everyone that maybe I should have gone the previous years. But I went out with a bang, let's say, for my European Youth Championships. And whilst I was at Weber, I did then have the opportunity to go to the World Youth Championships, and that was my last youth event back in 2014.
And talk about aspiration, especially at a youth. Here in the United States, it's Junior Team USA, and our youth bowlers have the opportunity to earn that way through Tribute Gold or team trials. And you watch these young athletes come through, and just as yourself, you talk about the ball hooking off your hands, right? And if anybody's watched you bowl, you have an advantage because of your style.
Right.
It's not like the rest of the women. Even Daria's in that same role. And so that's to be used to your advantage, and you've done that.
Yeah, it's funny because now it's definitely an advantage. But back when I was 14 years old, I would say it definitely hurt me more than anything. Yes, it was great that I could hook the bowling ball, but I didn't know what to do with that. I genuinely could not control the hook that I got out of the bowling ball. And every event I feel like, well, I have to stand so far left, and I would get into trouble so much. I would 3-6-10, and then I would make a move and the ball would 2-10. And it was just kind of, that was my thing. I still split a lot, but back then I would split 4 times a game. Now it's only 1. But I think that sometimes that hurt me because everybody else around me did throw it straight. So the coaches knew how to deal with that. If you were building a team of 4 or 5 players, well, did they really want that one girl that was going to be so much farther left than everyone, that couldn't communicate about what's going on because she, 1, I didn't know what to do with my bowling ball, but 2, obviously I was so different to them that it's so hard to have that conversation. So yeah, I think it probably hurt me more back then, but I am so glad that I didn't try and be anybody else back then. I never had that mindset of, well, now I need to throw it straight, because if I throw it straight, maybe I'll get to compete with them. I never had that mindset. I was always so happy that I hooked the bowling ball, and I liked being different. I liked being the only person that knew how to do it. It's just that it took some time for me to really learn how to control it and to, make the most of what I have.
Plus, she's a little lady, so at the same time, it's different. So your muscle mass then versus today, your physical game has changed so much because when you age, your body changes. So now that you're working out, it's certainly a different thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I wish I'd started working out 7 years ago. Even when I was at Weber, that was when I really started to learn how to roll the ball more, how to throw it a little bit faster, and how to control those parts of my game that sometimes would get me in trouble. But I wish back then we worked out whilst we were at Weber. It was a requirement, and we would have 2 workouts a week. And I did those workouts, but I didn't really realize how beneficial it would be to my bowling. So I didn't, I would go to the gym every now and then, but I didn't have that drive or that determination to become athletic because I didn't realize that it was going to benefit my bowling. And it's not been until I started bowling on the PWBA tour that, yes, I started working out before then, but I've started to realize how much it actually benefits me as a bowler. And I think that's what drives me to continue doing it more than ever. Yes, it makes me feel good. And yes, obviously, as your body starts to change, and I like to see those changes, but it's more of the fact that I need it for bowling. I need it for my endurance. I need it for my strength. And that's what's really important. So I wish I did it when I was a little younger. And that's definitely a piece of advice I try to give to some younger players is to, if you can get into working out, do it.
So what was the motivation to move you? I mean, you said it when you were in Weber, you did work out, but at some point you came to the conclusion that if I'm going to raise my game to the next level, I need to get to the gym more than I am. So
I honestly don't think it happened until my first year on the PWBA tour. Like before then, I started working out just because it made me feel a little bit better, and I wanted to get fitter. Like everyone wants to. As a female, you always look at your body, and I'm like, well, I feel too fat, and that kind of made me work out. But that was the only reason I did it, and until the first year on the PWBA tour, where I realized that I'm literally bowling 32 games in 2 days. And I'm working off 6 hours of sleep on a Friday night. And the day before I woke up at 4 a.m. to catch my flight, have a practice session and have a pro-am. And it just kind of gave me that realization that it's exhausting and I need to somehow train my body so that I can cope with that. And I think that's really what made the difference. And then as I started bowling on the women's tour, I kind of learned a little bit more about my strengths and weaknesses. And one of my weaknesses was my ball speed. I've always thrown the ball on the slower side, but I've also had a high rev rate. So I'm a little more rev dominant than I am speed. And bowling with the women, as much as I would love to say, well, yeah, I can just stand left and I can throw it right to where all the women have been, that would be the ideal situation. And that's what I thought was going to happen. But that's not really the way that it's worked. So I found that I have to find a way to stay a little bit further right with the women. And I didn't really have speed on my side to be able to do that. Yes, I could roll the bowling ball and change my axis, but I felt like speed was going to be a little bit more important. And that all comes from the legs. So if my legs aren't strong, then it's going to be very difficult for me to create that power from my legs. So that's another reason why I felt like going to the gym and working out and actually getting stronger was going to benefit me on the lanes. And for me, it was because of my ball speed.
So did you have somebody that kind of guided you through that experience after, like during your first year on the tour and learning more about your equipment, your ball rotation and the fitness in the gym? I
think in terms of my bowling myself, I always worked very closely with the ball reps that were out on tour. So obviously after each event, I would analyze myself how I thought it went, but I would also have the opportunity to speak to them because they got to see my game from a different perspective. It's always different looking at it from behind than it is as a bowler. So I was always able to kind of speak to them. And after every year on tour, I would always do a very big analysis of how the year went and figure out, okay, what do I need to work on now that's going to benefit me for next year? So I would definitely say I used the ball reps a lot, and also the coaches at Kegel. Every summer whilst I was bowling on tour, I would come back to the Kegel training center in between each event, and I would have the opportunity to speak with them and kind of figure out what I need to get better at. In terms of the fitness side of things, that was more of a decision that I thought that it was going to benefit me. Nobody really told me, hey, Verity, if you go to the gym and you get stronger, it's going to help you. It was more of a, okay, well, I need to throw it faster. I need more power in my legs. Well, it would probably make sense if I worked out a little bit more. And I was lucky enough, I was working at SCAD. So I was lucky enough to be able to work with the strength and conditioning trainers at SCAD and kind of speak to them about my goals. And obviously that they were the ones that were helping the bowling team as well. They'd seen me bowl, and I was able to kind of form a program with them that would help me in my bowling.
Awesome.
As Naz is picking out a donut, she's deciding what she wants next. And we both went for the same one. We both went for the peanut butter cup donut, which is amazing. So out on tour, who do you room with?
I room with Daria and Diana. So Diana, I know, right? Diana went out on tour before myself and Daria. Myself and Daria graduated at the same time, and we had the ability to go straight out onto tour full time once we graduated, but we didn't. We took a year where we were both kind of working and bowled some events as an amateur. And then we decided to go on tour at the same time. We were both living in the same area, so we were able to actually travel together. And Diana was looking for a roommate, so we stayed together, and we've not, no one's broken us apart just yet. So we're kind of known as the trio. We even set up our own Instagram page just because, people like to follow the three of us, and we really want to promote the sport and inspire other people to start bowling. So we set up a little page just for the three of us, and yeah, it makes a difference when you travel with people. The first few amateur events I bowled as an amateur, I enjoyed the bowling, but I hated the traveling side of things. It was stressful. I was by myself. I didn't know what to expect. And I was like, I hate this. Like, I want to bowl, but I don't want to go there by myself. So having those two kind of be there for support and to do everything together. I mean, one, it obviously brings the cost down. Two, it's fun. And three, it just kind of put me at ease to know that I'm with somebody else. If we get delayed or anything like that, we can work through that together.
Yeah, it's important to be able to have at least one person, let alone other people, to lean on during that experience, especially as international players coming into this market. Yeah. Did the three of you bowl on your respective teams in World Bowling at the same time at any point?
So I never bowled with either of Daria or Diana because I'm a little bit younger than them, and I didn't go to a European Youth Championships until I was old, and they'd already aged out by then. But they bowled a lot together on the European side. I know they've known each other for 15 years or something ridiculous now. So they have bowled against one another and stood on the podium together for medals. But I never actually had the opportunity to compete with them. It's funny, though, the event that I bowled when I was 12, my first one for Junior Team England, Diana was actually there. Obviously, neither of us knew who each other were. I knew that, it's Diana. Like, there'd obviously been talk about her. So I was aware of her, and I probably said hi to her, but I don't remember. And to this day, we both kind of talk about that event. Like, well, we kind of met each other, but we didn't really, we're in a picture together, but we didn't actually, I was 12 years old, and we didn't really form any kind of friendship or anything there.
That's awesome. So you were 12 years old and gawking and excited to
exactly
meet like Diana. So it's different. And now look at this.
Now they're rooming,
bowling against each other, and the support system. And I've seen you girls in action, and so you're all fierce on the lanes. At the same time, you guys like to have fun on the lanes, especially with each other. But when each one of you have made it far enough to watch each other, that dynamic to me is exciting to watch because you're so supportive of each other. Mm-hmm. And as you talk about, to me, I think that's the most important thing, to watch your friend. You want to be bowling, right? You're the one that wants to be bowling. However, to see your friend excel and bowl at that level, I mean, that has to mean something.
Well, if it can't be me, at least let it be them.
No, exactly. I think the important thing is that we generally care for each other and we want the best for each other. If I don't make a cut, they understand that, I might need some time and I'm going to be down for a little bit. But then once I've got over my own mindset of dealing with myself, I'm going to be there for them. And, we don't really have any rules in terms of don't speak to me or don't do this. Like, we just understand each other well enough to where if someone has a bad day, we know how to cope with it. You know, if we all have a good day, then great, but that's not going to happen all of the time. And there's going to be times where one person makes the show and maybe the other person just misses it. And of course they're going to be upset that they just missed it, but we understand that, we support each other, and it's so nice to be able to cheer for one another and know that, you know, it's a great feeling to be up there on the approach and know that you have those two behind me, like cheering me on and wholeheartedly want the best for me.
All right. So when you're having that bad day, now I know Diana is the jokester, but who is the one that truly has the best advice for you when you're having that day on the lanes?
I think Daria is probably the one that will lift me up more than anything, because she always has something funny to say, and it's never serious. It's always going to put a smile on your face regardless of how mad you are. And it's the same thing with Diana, but Daria is just going to she's going to say that stupid comment that's going to make you for a few minutes, she's going to make you forget about what just happened on the lanes, because the comment was so ridiculous that she said.
Well, it was funny. So USBC has been hosting different webcasts, and you and Daria did the gauntlet this past week, which I caught after, which was fun to watch. And exactly that happens with the two of them, not in the same space, answering questions about each other or just in general. And that played out exactly to what you're saying, which was pretty cool to watch. So go to the USBC Facebook page and you can check that out. So we have a few questions that we ask a lot of our guests, and people want to know and talk about your experiences. So one, what would you say is your proudest moment on the lanes?
There's so many, but one that somebody asked me this question recently, and what came to mind was the first time I ever shot 300. And to me, it was such a big deal. It was at the European Youth Championships, my first European Youth Championships. It was the first game in the singles event. And I think because I had my parents behind me and my grandma was there, and it was so amazing to have them there supporting me. Obviously, they would go to every single event. My parents took me everywhere when I was younger. So to have them there watching me succeed was just very special, and it was a very memorable moment for me and something I will always remember. And I went on to win a couple of medals at that event, and without that event I probably wouldn't be in the US. So that event is always kind of going to hold a special place for me, but definitely shooting that first 300 and having my parents there behind me is probably one of my proudest moments.
We just said it always comes back to family.
Almost every bowler has said the same thing. Whatever moment it was that they picked, it was made special, extra special, by being able to share it with their family.
Yeah, I think when you're a bowler, you know, you don't do what you do without having some form of support system behind you. So I think that's what makes it so special, is when that support system not necessarily finally get to, but when they get to see you succeed, and they're the ones that see you put in the work day in and day out. Like, there's not very many people that know the behind the scenes, but they're the people that know. So to have them there just makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So you've had great success, but there's got to be a player that you really have a hard time getting past. That, you know, when you see you're bowling them, you're like, oh, please, not her again.
It's a tough one, because I want to compete against anyone and everyone, you know, like I really don't care who that competitor is. I want to beat them. But if I look at my career so far, and if you were to look at the statistics so far, it would have to be Shannon O'Keefe, just from the fact that I have finished second to her. Most of my second place finishes are to her. So I mean, two of them are to her. So in that aspect, I don't know, I feel like we're both, when we get into that situation, it's like we're both going to be as competitive as can be. And I feel like she's just out-bowled me. You know, I've bowled some huge games against her, and it's just kind of the way that it's gone. But it would probably be her if I had to pick.
All right. So what are you going to do the next time you bowl against her? I mean, What's going to go through your mind and say, I gotta beat her, I gotta beat her, I gotta beat her?
And again, like when I'm in that situation, I'm not thinking about the person, you know, the next time I'm going to go against her, I'm not going to be thinking about the previous times that I've lost to her or anything like that. It's going to all just be based on my shot in that moment. You know, all of the cliche sayings that we're supposed to say to ourselves, that's exactly what I will be saying to myself. And I know that sometimes it's really hard to have that mindset, and sometimes it's very easy to think about the competitor. But, you know, I know that if I think about the competitor and I think about the past and all of that, I know that my execution's not going to be as good. And in the end, I don't want to regret the things that I can control, and the execution is one of them. If I execute good shots, then whatever happens, happens.
Right. And it's funny because, like you said, you bowled some great games against her, but there are just some people that it's like they have your number. You can bowl your best and they just squeak out that little win against you. So, you know, you don't change your mindset. You're still going to go and do the same thing, but sometimes. At
the same time, Dasha tells the story of when in a bowling against Liz Johnson, and you know, and she says, "Oh my God, Liz Johnson! I'm bowling against Liz Johnson. She's going to bowl 300 against me." You know, and obviously that wasn't the case, but you know, there is a psych out, but to an extent. But that's the best. That's the best way to look at it, because I totally agree. And so, you know, you've had anybody watching or anybody that's going to come back and watch, go back and watch it and listen to what Verity's saying, because I mean, the words of wisdom alone you could take to your own game. That has certainly helped you. And you did the same when you were here at Rabs a couple years ago during the USA Bowling Tournament and sat with our youth bowlers, and they asked you questions, and we just had this great conversation. And it's that consistent messaging that you've shared. So I have to say thank you, because you truly are an inspiration for our youth bowlers.
Thank you.
Especially the young girls.
Yeah, and that's going to be exciting, right?
No, it is. And that's, you know, they motivate me and they inspire me to keep going, because, you know, I remember how I was as a little girl, and I remember how my bowling career was. And, you know, just to have somebody to look up to and to be inspired by, I think is really important. And now we have social media. You have that free access literally to a professional bowler at the click of something on your phone. So I didn't have that growing up. And in the end, like I don't know, I'm so thankful for bowling. And I think that everything that I've achieved and everything that I have done through bowling is amazing. And I just want other people to be able to experience that. And especially when you're really passionate about something, like I want to show people that, you know, you can do anything if you put your mind to it, and that, you know, it's going to be hard, and, you know, it's not necessarily about what you achieve. It's more about who you are as a person. And in the end, that's what's more important.
Yeah. Hey, one of our friends, Ronnie, has a question for you.
Okay.
And I hate to say it, it's sitting on my desk. I haven't read this yet. So
honestly, same. I haven't read it yet either. I just got it yesterday and I haven't read it yet. But I know that.
Yeah, he was asking, for those that don't know, BJI is Bowler's Journal. And so you were quoted. And so what were you talking about in this?
So I was talking about the fact that I obviously took a long break from bowling, probably the biggest break I feel like I've ever taken in my life from bowling. And I'd been bowling at home. You know, I'd set up a little cushion and little area for me to throw the ball down the lane. But I was talking about how when I first got back into bowling after the break, I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. And I think I was a little bit too hard on myself. I was searching for this perfect feel that I had before quarantine started. You know, I was looking for that execution to just be good right away again at the click of my fingers, and that didn't happen. And I spent a week where everything just felt absolutely awful, and it felt way worse than I imagined it to. I got so frustrated because I'm like, why does it feel this bad? Like, am I this bad? What's happened? Like, how has this break affected me so badly? So in the Bowler's Journal, I just talk about how, you know, I explain that about how bad it was. And then I kind of came to that realization that I didn't ease back into bowling as much as I should have. You know, I really shouldn't have gone to bowl for 2, 3, 4 hours that first time back. I should have, just done some drills and been okay with that. And I think that that's kind of my recommendation to people as you get back into bowling, is to really ease back into it, because the best part about being able to go in and just do some drills is that you can work on your fundamentals, and you can slowly kind of get that feel back, and there's really no need to rush back into things. And I was definitely searching for that perfect feel, and I didn't find it. So I ended up frustrating myself more just because I was looking for that.
Right. And because you're so removed from what it felt like, probably what you had in your mind as the perfect feel, you might not have even ever had, but because you were so far away from it, you remember it as perfect.
Exactly. And then I was almost throwing it even worse because I'm searching for something that wasn't existing. So I actually hurt myself more because I'm searching for something that didn't exist, and then I'm frustrated. It feels bad. So it just got worse and worse and worse. And then when I had that realization, I'm like, Verity, what are you doing? Like, it's not gonna feel good right now. Yep. It's okay. Do some drills, go back to basics, and then everything was great. And now I feel like I'm throwing it better than I was before quarantine happened. So it's funny. Bowling is a interesting sport, that is for sure.
Yeah, well, there's nothing worse than feeling like rubber, like when you're just getting right back on the lanes. It's just that very loose, because inactive all this time. And so
for some people, it's going to feel great. I'm a practicer. So for me to go from practicing every day to having nothing for 3 months was awful for me. But for some people, that break might be more beneficial. But again, I think easing back into it is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. Great advice. As we're all slowly preparing to get back to bowling. Pro shops are open, and get your equipment ready. And before you know it, here in New York, and before you know it, we'll be back to bowling. Couldn't happen soon enough. But some folks are taking the advantage of going over the bridge into New Jersey because they could bowl there. So slowly but surely, and take your time. Listen to what Verity's telling you. You're friend for yourself.
Something else you mentioned about, fit and things like that. I feel like that's something really important as well, is to, but almost before you start easing back into bowling, is to go and get your hand checked. Go to your local pro shop and figure out maybe your hand has changed. I know a lot of people that during being at home, they've started working out a lot more than they ever did. They've lost a lot of weight, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe everyone was at home and they were eating. I don't know. But like for me, I lost weight during quarantine. So it's another thing to pay attention to is, well, if you've lost weight, your body's changing. Your hand isn't going to stay the exact same. You can't just input into your body, please can I lose weight, but not in my hand. You can't do that. So in that aspect, I think it is important to go to your local pro shop and make sure that everything fits correctly too.
Yeah, we've been talking about that since day one. It's something we've been talking about. Yep. And when you finally get your hands in your bowling ball, it's going to be true. It's going to be real. And now you're finally listening to someone. I can listen to you talk all day long. So you're awesome, and we really appreciate you taking the time and joining us here. And we hope that you stay healthy and safe, and we want to watch you bowl back on the lanes as much as we can.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. You're doing a great job. I hope you can keep up. Once everything goes back to normal, I hope you can keep up still doing some live videos and informing the bowling world and just getting everyone connected. I think it's great that we have access to these platforms and to social media where we can literally talk from miles apart and see each other's faces.
Yeah. And it's been fun. It's certainly been fun. And we talking to different players from around the country and the world, it's certainly let us connect for sure, like you said. And we're going to continue this in some way, shape, or fashion. Somehow. It won't be sitting here on the lanes because we're hoping people are sitting here and bowling. But this will continue in some way, shape, or form as we get through this. But 101, I don't know how many more episodes we got in us, but we're going to keep going.
We're here until they tell us we're not.
So, Verity, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye.
She's wonderful. I wanted to ask her to say little girl again.
I could totally talk. She's got to, and she's beautiful. She's got the whole thing, and she's smart. And watching her bowl, she's not traditional. And the three of it's funny that the three of them have kind of banded together, all very different on the lanes, and certainly complement each other really well. So thank you, Verity, for joining us.
Good luck to the trio.
Yeah, for sure. We can't wait to get back to bowling, and of course watching the ladies get back on the lanes. All right, so thank you for being with us. Naz, so you did a number on donuts.
Well, I was only eating a quarter of them.
Well, no, I only ate half that bacon glaze thing. That was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that
delicious.
was. I think that was my favorite so far.
That peanut butter cup one is good too.
It's good, but you know what? Those are sweeter. For some reason, the bacon one wasn't as sweet as I expected, which I liked more.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all great. I'm not.
What should be next then?
I don't know.
Oh, the jelly ring. This jelly ring.
I only ate a quarter of that.
This is one of my favorites. Jelly ring I love to begin with.
Very sweet. Yeah, it's good. It's a little sweet for me.
Oh, that's ridiculous. If Stephanie is still here, I do have some donut I can share with her. Maple glaze. Stephanie actually came into work today, so.
Are you giving her the one that
I have some here, because I had cut.
Oh, okay. Because then there's like almost a half.
We're gonna share. We're gonna be nice and share. Absolutely. But we have to say thank you to Marks for.
Thank you, Mark.
Sharing the donuts. We're gonna keep them, and then we're gonna taste the rest of them. So by Monday and Tuesday we can still tell you about the other donuts that we've had to taste. Kevin had said that he had stopped on the way home, so peanut butter was good. Jelly ring also. I'm a jelly rings. That's like something that's.
Oh, I love jelly ring.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask her what her favorite Italian ice was.
Oh, wait, the bowling community wants to know.
The bowling community wants to know.
What's your favorite Italian
ice? She's still there. Maybe she'll pop on and answer it.
We're going to share one more greeting with you before we come back and close the show. This is from our friend Chad Murphy.
Happy 100th episode to Rabs. Frankie and Naz, you've done a great job. It's been fun to follow along. 100 days, that's amazing. It feels like about 10 years. So congratulations. I love you guys and look forward to more shows. See ya.
Thanks, Chad. And it's funny, when we show them, it's like they're there. They're like they're live in person.
Yeah.
This has been fun. This is 101. I can't believe it, Naz. I don't know if you saw, Naz is a little disturbed over this whole TikTok thing and the possible shutdown, and it's watching you. And now Amazon, we got an alert while we were sitting here, is requiring their employees to delete TikTok from their phones. Now, I don't know if it's because of distractions and they're filming from warehouses.
I wouldn't think it's a distraction to work. I would think that's why.
Oh, it could be a little bit of everything, but there's a.
And maybe people are filming TikToks at work.
Oh, you guys just want to know about the damn donuts. The jelly donut, their jelly donut is always one of my favorites, especially if I happen to grab one when we have them on a regular basis.
The jelly.
Adrienne Ferretti was with us yesterday, and she just happened to bring it up. It was not solicited. She had said she loves their jelly donuts, and she was we have to suggest to Mark, because she's the fig lady, a fig jelly donut.
Jelly donut.
So I sent that to Mark. We're gonna make sure.
I'm sure they could add something else with that.
We have a Boston cream. Is it Bavarian cream and Boston cream? Bavarian cream is more like
more yellowish, I think, isn't it?
Or is it like the sugary cream? We have a Boston cream, and they are really good. I've had those. I didn't dive into that one yet. So I don't know about the TikTok thing, Naz. You gotta.
I'm a little concerned.
These donuts here are from Mark's on Richmond Road in Richmond Town.
I'm gonna tell you what I did.
What did you do?
To head off the TikTok demise. All of the people that I follow, this is a different level for me, because I don't really put a lot of effort.
Because you're a crazy stalker.
Social media thing.
All right, come on.
But what I did do was, the people that I follow, who I enjoy following, I went into their profile, and I also followed them on Instagram. And if they're on YouTube, I follow them on YouTube. And it's just, some of the people are for comedy, some of the people are for well-being, some of the people, whether it's for yoga or household tips, or I have a wide range of people, but I don't want to lose contact with them. There's one guy that cooks that I love. I honestly, when I watch the video, I actually smile.
Wait, I think you actually made dinner the other night and you used.
I took a picture of it.
Wait, no, it looked delicious, but
I used the recipe.
Wait, you are a stalker, just like you, Kevin. So get over it. Like Kevin's using Facebook under his wife's page.
Yeah, exactly.
So he stalks too.
That's next level.
My brother and sister-in-law the same thing. No, wait. You used the recipe from the TikTok chick.
Yeah,
the Italian chick.
Yeah. What's her name?
With the accent.
Her name. Yeah. She's got a very
you made
Italian accent.
Milanese, a chicken Milanese.
It was delicious too.
But what was the key?
The key, which I will probably never do again because I didn't even want to think about how many calories were in it, was frying the chicken cutlets in butter. And I will tell you, they tasted amazing.
How did they feel going down? Like going down? Did you feel the butter?
No, because I added them and drained them. But they were delicious.
That's interesting. I never tried that. We're not big fryers, and I will say we don't really cook with. We try to not cook with butter, but I will try that because I do think that's something to.
And usually I'll make the chicken cutlets in the air fryer. That's usually how I make them.
It's just I know it's not the same now.
I saw the recipe and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna try it. And
So
I'm looking for the Italian chick.
It's our 25th anniversary, which of course half of it now we're spending closed and locked up. We've been sharing some old photos, and Naz, here's a photo of you and I. I was never really a fan of this photo, but I'm going to share it anyway. It's a good moment. This is, I'm not sure how many years ago, but this is from Yvette Serrano from the American Cancer Society, and we had presented a check for $31,000 as part of our Bowling Against Breast Cancer campaign. This was when their office was over here on an Old Town Road.
She's special. She's a special girl.
She certainly is. So that's our old photo of the day. This is actually hanging in the office.
It actually is.
Of the few photos that we actually like of ourselves.
We've allowed it to be on them. I don't say I like it, but it's there.
And if you watched yesterday, I mentioned it before, but we were over at Bruno's on Forest Avenue, and I have to extend another thank you to Biagio.
Yes, Biagio was a wonderful host.
He really was. He sat with us. We had some great conversation. We could have continued the show for another hour.
Oh yeah, we stayed there for a little while.
We had some great conversation, and we're going to have him back because I want him. He told some great stories. I mean, we talked about Italy and cooking and baking, and he was talking about some other experiences that I thought were really cool that we didn't get to capture on the show. And he really was an amazing host.
Yes.
If you watch, you saw they brought menus to us, and then he says, "Hey, do me a favor. Can I just let the chef take care of lunch?"
Which I love when they do that.
I do too. However, we're going there for lunch. We're just going to pick and showcase.
Right.
We had a meal.
Yeah, we used to go to Gordio's. Back in the day, Lou's dad used to have a restaurant on Court Street in Brooklyn, and that's basically what we used to do. We used to go over there, and they just used to bring us over food and wine, and there were several times they had to run out to the liquor store and buy more wine for us. But that's a great.
When you get to showcase what they make, and I mean that's where you get the most creativity. And I will say we've gone to restaurants where they do the chef's tasting. Sometimes it's very expensive and it's not worth it.
Right.
But we've been in positions where it's a great value.
Right.
And we'll eat anything, so we'll try it.
Yeah.
But yesterday he went above and beyond. He even brought us dessert, which we didn't get to show to celebrate 100 episodes.
Was wonderful.
I did share a photo of it. It's apple crumb cake, which was delicious. So again, thank you to Biagio. And I mean, if you go next to his bakery's there's 2 locations here on Staten Island, next door from Rabs here, and I'm pointing like you guys know which way I'm pointing.
Yeah, right there.
But it's obviously opposite the lanes. And of course on Forest Avenue across from LaGretti Staten. And I walk through the bakery, and I look through the case, and of course all the things that I really like. He makes really good sfogliatelles and granolas. I mean, it's everything. And their gelato, they make really good gelato. So
I'm
go
not
visit,
ignoring
check
you,
them out.
but I do.
You're scrolling. You're looking for
I know.
TikToks.
We have a telemed appointment.
Yeah. So we want you to have a great weekend.
Yeah.
You don't miss us. You won't see us tomorrow or Sunday. We'll be back on Monday. Our shows start Monday to Friday. This whole week, we're going to be live at you at lunchtime. So 12 noon, right here on the Facebook or the YouTube. Come and join us on Monday. Our friends Doreen and Luann of the St. George Theater are going to be on with us, talking about what's happening there, the restoration project. They've been busy, and how you can certainly support the theater and what it looks like next for them. Wednesday,
they were very busy at work when the quarantine started.
Yeah, they were.
With the which I probably is a bad thing and a good thing, because they were able to really have some time to take time and get that project done, and it looks.
Oh, it looks good. If you've driven by the theater or walked by, that marquee is beautiful. The new doors, and
you can't really see a lot of that because it's it's closed off most of the time.
Yeah, if you go during the day and the doors open, you can see some of the. It's not the same. I mean, you don't wait till they open and you can.
Yeah,
you can see
really,
it. Right. It looks great, and they've done it in one. We'll talk Monday with them and about what they've done there. Wednesday, PWBA champion who added another title to his resume this past week. 2 weeks ago, Sean Rash will join us. And you never know what else is going to happen here on Live from Rabs this upcoming week. But 12 noon, we'll be here, and hopefully you'll also be there. Naz, remind our friends what they should be doing.
You should be subscribing. You should be smashing that like button and sharing. And share with your friends.
Yeah, smash the like button. Smash. And before we go, here's one more.
Do we have another one?
We have another greeting I'm going to share from our friends Parker and Leslie Bone. And in the meantime, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear a mask in public,
and don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face. Stay dry. Enjoy your weekends.
Fine. That was awesome.
Frank and Naz, congratulations, 100 episodes.
And to think, you originally were figuring 20 or 30, and now we're at 100.
Thanks so much for having us on your show, and thank you again for keeping the bowling world informed. We'll drink to that 50 times 2.